Captain Sarah Chun sat rigid in her chair, watching the control panel erupt in a wash of flashing crimson. The Discovery, her small research vessel, was coming apart around her. 3 hours earlier, the engine had torn itself to pieces, and now the ship floated helplessly through the void, powerless, its life support unraveling second by second. She reached for the comm switch again, her voice steady but thin. "This is Captain Chern of the Earth vessel Discovery. Emergency situation. Is anyone out there?" Only static pressed back through the speakers. Too far. She was too far from home for her signal to reach anyone. The nearest colony, Rio, lay months away even at full thrust. But thrust was something her broken ship could no longer muster. The silence of space had become her only companion. Already the air was thinning. Every breath carried the sharp edge of dwindling oxygen. When the engine blew, the recycler had gone with it. 6 hours left, perhaps less, and then nothing, just the soft descent into sleep, never to wake again. Sarah wasn't afraid of death. She had chosen this life among the stars knowing the dangers it held. What hurt was the thought of never seeing her family again, her sister's laughter, her parents' voices. They would never know where she had gone, only that she was lost. Her gaze drifted to the window. Stars burned across the dark and cold, indifferent brilliance. No help would come from them. Closing her eyes, she tried to cling to memories. The warmth of her sister's smile, anything to soften the weight pressing in on her chest. And then, movement. Her eyes snapped open. Something shifted outside the viewport. A ship. Small, roughly the size of her own, but unlike any human craft she had ever seen. Its hull wasn't built but sculpted, smooth and curved like living bone or coral, its surface veined with glowing blue lights that pulsed rhythmically, alive. The vessel glided closer. Sarah's pulse quickened. First contact. Every child dreamed of this moment, but not here, not like this, dying and helpless before the unknown. Her radio hissed to life. A voice spilled through, strange and musical, rising and falling like a song. She couldn't understand the words, but she felt their intent, concern. "This is Captain Sarah Chen," she answered quickly. "I'm human. My ship is failing. I'm running out of air. Please, help me." More tones rippled through the comm, followed by clicking exchanges between unseen voices. Then, suddenly, words formed in English, halting but clear. "We learn your words from your talking box. You are hurt." Relief nearly broke her. They had absorbed her language from her transmissions. "Yes," she gasped. "No power. No air. I will die soon. We help. We try help. Stay calm. We come to you." Through the window she watched their vessel drift closer, luminous and otherworldly. A tube extended outward, connecting with her docking port. A faint thud reverberated through the hull. Moments later came a hiss, fresh oxygen flooding in, and the hum of energy crawling back into her systems. The airlock cycled, and Sarah saw them. Tall, slender figures stepped aboard, their movements fluid, almost weightless. Their skin glowed faintly blue, translucent as if lit from within. Each had 4 arms, and their heads were larger than human, dominated by wide, dark eyes that radiated intelligence. Behind the first came 2 more, their forms sheathed in suits that mirrored the organic beauty of their ship. The leader spoke, the words filtered through her radio. "I am Navigator Velton. We are Cathari. You are very sick. Your body is wrong for space." Sarah forced a nod. "The explosion injured me inside. And the air. I've been breathing bad air for hours." Velton's gaze deepened with worry. "We try to fix you, but we do not know human bodies. We learn as we help." The other 2, who seemed to be healers, produced glowing instruments that whirred softly. They examined her, voices flowing in their melodic language, their tone urgent. "Your body makes heat wrong," Velton explained. "Your blood is different. We must change our healing machines to fit you." For the next hour, Sarah lay weakly as they dismantled and rebuilt their own devices, forcing alien technology into new shapes to keep her alive. Medicines, strange and shimmering, were shared, though they could not know whether they would cure or kill. They risked themselves for her. If the mixture poisoned her, if the life support they bled away ran dry, they too could perish. "Why are you doing this?" she asked softly. "You don't know me. I'm not even your kind." Velton's great dark eyes held hers. "You were calling for help. We heard you. How could we not answer?" It was that simple. 2 more hours passed before the healer declared her stable enough to travel. But her ship was beyond salvation, and the Cathari vessel far too small to carry 2 crews safely. "We take you to our world," Velton said. "But the journey is long. We must spend much power. Food and air may not be enough." Sarah began to protest, but Velton raised one of his 4 hands, silencing her gently. "We already choose. We save you. That is what we do." 8 days passed in transit. In that time, Sarah came to know them better. Explorers like her. Seekers of worlds, students of the stars. They had never waged war, never built weapons. Their lives were devoted to healing, to learning, to discovery. But they were not safe. Velton told her of the hegemony, an alliance of predatory species that seized what they desired, stripping peaceful civilizations of knowledge and technology. Already 3 Cathari colonies had been obliterated. "They will come to our home soon," Velton admitted, sorrow filling his voice. "We cannot fight. We do not know how to make war." Sarah's chest tightened. These beings, pure and luminous, had saved her when they had no reason to. And now they faced annihilation. But she was human. Humanity knew the cost of war. They knew what it meant to protect what was fragile and good. And they never abandoned a debt. As their ship descended toward the Cathari's green-blue world, Sarah made a vow. They had risked everything for a stranger. Now it was humanity's turn. Somehow, she had to reach Earth before the hegemony arrived. Time was running out, and she was the only human who knew. In the silent vastness of the Cathari star system, humanity's reputation lingered. They were good at impossible things. Captain Saracen was about to prove it. She stood upon the wide observation deck of the Cathari Medical Center, gazing out over their world. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, a vision of paradise made real. 3 moons floated against a lavender sky, while great cities drifted among the clouds like living dreams. Every surface curved in organic perfection, grown rather than constructed. The planet was breathtaking. And yet paradise stood on the edge of ruin. "Your body heals well," said Dr. Ithra gently, her 4 slender hands adjusting a device that pulsed with a soft, living warmth. Its glow mapped Sarah's recovering body, confirming what the human already felt. "Human healing is fast, much faster than Cathari healing. Your kind is very strong." Sarah smiled at the healer. In the 2 weeks she had spent on this luminous world, she had come to love the Cathari. They embodied everything humanity aspired to be but so often failed at: compassionate, wise, generous, forever ready to help another. Even with annihilation approaching, their first concern was her recovery. "How long do we have?" Sarah asked quietly. Ithra's wide dark eyes dimmed with sorrow. "The Council believes 30 days. Perhaps 40. The hegemony fleets move slowly, stripping each system of what they want before moving on." Sarah had heard much about them in recent weeks. The hegemony was not 1 race but 5, united in conquest. They plundered peaceful civilizations, seizing technology, enslaving populations, and bending every discovery into a weapon. The Cathari possessed exactly what the hegemony craved most: biotechnology unlike anything else in the galaxy. Living starships that healed themselves. Medicines that adapted to the physiology of any species. The power to shape matter itself, building what they required from the smallest element. In noble hands it was knowledge to heal. In hegemony hands, it would become a means to dominate entire galaxies. "We could flee," Ithra whispered, though her voice lacked conviction. Carry our people to distant stars and seek new homes. She lowered her gaze. But they would follow. They always follow. And we cannot abandon our knowledge. Thousands of years of cures and discoveries. If the hegemony takes them, they will twist it all for war. Sarah nodded. Running would never work. The Cathari were too good to surrender their light, too gentle to fight back. Their ships were designed to explore, not to wage war. They had no armies, no weapons, no soldiers. What about allies? Sarah pressed. Other races, other civilizations? We have tried, Ithra said. Those who are peaceful are too small, too scattered. Those who are strong either fear the hegemony or wish to join them. We are alone. Sarah's jaw tightened. Not alone anymore. I need to send a message to my people, she said. Humans know how to fight. It isn't always our proudest skill, but we use it to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The healer tilted her head, hope and doubt mingling in her luminous eyes. But your home lies so far away. Even if they would help, how could they reach us in time? And why would they risk themselves for strangers? Sarah clasped one of Ithra's delicate hands. Because you didn't treat me like a stranger. You saved my life when you had no reason to. That makes you family. And humans always protect family. That evening, Sarah walked into the crystalline grandeur of the council hall. The chamber seemed carved from a single colossal gem, its walls glowing softly, resonating with a quiet hum like the heart of the world itself. Navigator Velton stood among the gathered leaders, 12 elders of the Cathari, each with calm wisdom shining in their gaze. At their center was Elder Thyandra, the oldest among them, her voice carrying the weight of centuries. Captain Chen, she said with gentle solemnity, we are honored by your presence. You wish to send word to your people. Yes, Sarah replied. But I need your strongest transmitter, one powerful enough to reach Earth. And I need to send the message in a way the hegemony cannot intercept. The council exchanged glances, silent currents of meaning flowing between them, invisible to human eyes. At last, Elder Thyandra spoke. We possess such a transmitter. But to use it will reveal our position. The hegemony will detect the signal. They will come sooner. 30 days will become 20. Sarah's breath caught, but she nodded grimly. The decision weighed heavy, yet there was no real choice. 20 days is better than none. Without the message, there is no hope at all. Velton's voice trembled with doubt. Even if your people receive it, why would they come? We have no armies, no resources, no strategic power. We are only explorers. Sarah rose to her feet. For the first time since she had arrived, she allowed the full force of her humanity to surface. Her voice hardened, her eyes blazing with the fire that had carried her species beyond their cradle. When my ship was dying in the dark, you heard my cry. You could have ignored it. You could have told yourselves it was too dangerous. You could have drifted past and left me to die. She began to pace, her words cutting through the hall's serenity. But you didn't. You risked yourselves to save me, a stranger. You shared your air, your food, your medicine. You welcomed me into your homes, and you healed my wounds. From that moment, you treated me like family. The council listened, their vast dark eyes following her every step. That means something to us, Sarah continued, her voice steady, resolute. Humans don't forget such things. When kindness is given freely, when courage is shown without hesitation, we remember. We repay. We stand beside those who stand beside us. She stopped in front of Elder Thyandra, meeting her gaze unflinchingly. You ask why humans would risk their lives for you? Because you are the kind of people worth fighting for. You make the universe brighter simply by existing. If we let the hegemony destroy you, we lose something irreplaceable, and humanity will not allow that. Silence lingered, heavy and electric. Then Elder Thyandra smiled, the first time Sarah had seen such an expression from a Cathari. Very well, Captain Chen. We will send your message. But you must understand, if your people do not come, or if they arrive too late, you will die here with us. Are you prepared for that? Sarah thought of her family on Earth, her sister's laughter, her parents' faces. She might never see them again. And yet she thought also of Dr. Ithra's gentle care, of Velton's unwavering kindness, of this civilization of luminous souls about to be consumed. Yes, she said firmly. I will take that risk. 3 hours later, Sarah Chun stood inside the Cathari Communications Center, ready to send humanity's most desperate call across the stars. The transmitter in the Cathari capital was unlike anything humanity had ever crafted. A vast crystalline structure pulsed with inner light, threads of radiant energy branching outward like veins of a living star. It shimmered as if it stretched across the cosmos itself, reaching for distant worlds. The message will take 5 days to reach your home, Velton explained, his deep voice calm yet tinged with gravity. If your people respond at once, their ships could arrive in 12, perhaps 15 days. Sarah nodded, her heart heavy with the weight of what was about to be spoken. She had one chance, one message that could either rally her people or doom this gentle world to silence. She took a long breath and pressed the recording crystal. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the research vessel Discovery, addressing Earth Command and the Terran Council, she began, her voice steady though her chest tightened. I am alive. I was rescued by a people called the Cathari, a people who chose to save me when they could have let me drift into death. Now they face extinction. She paused, drawing strength from the memory of those who had tended her wounds. The threat comes from the hegemony, she continued. A military alliance of 5 species bound by conquest. They are approaching this world, intent on seizing Cathari science and enslaving their people. The Cathari cannot resist them. They are explorers, healers, scholars. They have never raised weapons, never fought wars. They are everything we once dreamed we would find among the stars. Her eyes flicked toward the window, to the floating cities drifting among violet skies, living proof of a civilization built on harmony. They are kind. They are wise. They risk themselves for strangers. They share their knowledge freely. They have never enslaved, never conquered. The galaxy needs people like this. Her voice rose, sharpened by conviction. I know Earth is far. I know our fleets are stretched thin, barely enough to protect our own borders. But if we allow the hegemony to wipe the Cathari away, we lose something greater than ships or colonies. We lose proof that civilizations can choose peace and endure. We lose allies who could teach us to be better than we are. Her words gathered strength with every syllable. The Cathari saved one human, not for profit, not for power, but because it was right. Now I ask humanity to do the same. Not because of debt, though we owe them. Not because of technology, though theirs could help us, but because defending the innocent from tyranny is what humans do. It is who we are when we are at our best. The recording ended. Sarah lowered her hand from the crystal, her breath slow, deliberate. Now we wait, she whispered to Velton. And we hope my people are everything I told you they are. The signal surged outward, racing across stars toward Earth. Behind it, shadows gathered, the hegemony fleet closing in, death and slavery riding in its wake. Sarah had done all she could. The rest would fall to humanity. 6 days later, Admiral Marcus Torres stood in the command chamber of Earth's High Council, watching the recording for the 3rd time. Around him, the most powerful figures of human space sat in heavy silence. Sarah Chen's words had arrived hours earlier, igniting a storm of debate. Run it again, Counselor Williams demanded, her voice unsteady. We've heard it 3 times already, Torres replied, though he gave the nod. The technician restarted the message. Sarah's voice filled the chamber, calm yet burning with urgency, telling them of the Cathari and the storm that drew near. When the recording ended, voices erupted. It's impossible, General Morrison thundered, striking the table with his fist. We barely have ships enough to guard our colonies. She's asking us to send the entire fleet across the galaxy against an enemy we've never even faced. The Cathari saved her life, Counselor Davis countered sharply. Does that mean nothing to us? Of course it means something, Morrison snapped. But it doesn't outweigh the safety of billions of humans. If we strip our defenses and lose, what then? What if the hegemony decides Earth is next? What if we hand them victory on both fronts? The chamber filled with shouts, arguments spiraling, cost, risk, strategy, doubt. Some even questioned whether Sarah's plea was genuine or a trap. Through it all, Admiral Torres remained silent. He had listened to the message again and again. It wasn't the words that held him, it was the weight between them. Finally, Counselor Williams turned to him. Admiral, you've said little. What do you think? Torres rose and walked to the wide viewport overlooking Earth's capital, where millions of lives unfolded in blissful ignorance of the choice now before them. He spoke slowly, each word heavy. I think this may be the most important decision humanity has ever faced. Not because of the Cathari, though they are clearly worth saving. Not because of the debt we owe, though it is real. But because of what this choice says about who we are. Morrison frowned. What are you getting at? 4 centuries, Torres said, turning back to the table, we've told ourselves stories. That when we met others among the stars, we would be explorers, protectors, heroes. We would be the ones who stood against cruelty, who defended those who could not defend themselves. He met each council member's gaze in turn. Well, here we are. The dream has arrived. The question is, were we lying to ourselves? A hush swept through the room. Torres pressed on. The Cathari saved one of ours without hesitation. The hegemony means to destroy them. Here is our chance to be the people we claimed we would be. Here is our chance to prove that the stories were true. The cost, Williams said again, her voice strained. Every available ship. Every trained pilot. If we lose. If we don't go, Torres cut her off, then our ships mean nothing. Our weapons mean nothing. What good is power if we never use it to help anyone but ourselves? Debate raged for hours more. Finances. Colonies. Fear. Doubt. Yet one truth remained like a blade at the center of every argument. The Cathari had saved Sarah Chen when no one else could. That single act had changed the fate of worlds. And then Torres spoke once more, cutting through the weariness in the chamber. There's something else you haven't considered, he said, his voice low. The hegemony has been conquering peaceful species for years. The Cathari are only the latest. If we let them succeed again, how long before they turn their gaze on us? How long before human worlds are next? The silence that followed was absolute. The hegemony was not just a threat to the Cathari. They were a threat to every peaceful civilization in the galaxy. Better to fight them now, Admiral Torres said firmly, his voice echoing through the chamber, far from Earth alongside allies. Better to stop them before they grow stronger. General Morrison shook his head, his expression like iron. You're assuming victory. We don't even know the strength of their weapons, their fleets, their tactics. We could be marching into a slaughter. You're right, Torres admitted, his voice calm but unyielding. We don't know if we can win. But I do know this, we cannot win if we refuse to try. And I'd rather die fighting for something good than live with the knowledge that we let evil triumph because we were afraid. The chamber fell silent. The vote was called. It was close. 7 council members voted to send the fleet. 5 voted against. By the narrowest of margins, humanity chose to fight. Within hours, orders rippled across every human settlement in the galaxy. Priority Alpha. Assemble at Luna Station. This is not a drill. Captain Elena Vasquez was commanding a patrol cruiser near the Jupiter colonies when the signal came through. She had never seen a Priority Alpha order before. Her crew gathered anxiously on the bridge, questions in their eyes. "What's going on, Captain?" asked her first officer. "I don't know," Vasquez admitted, "but we're about to find out." The journey to Luna Station took 3 tense days. As Vasquez's ship approached Earth's moon, the sight that greeted her left her breathless. They were everywhere. Ships converged from every corner of human space, military cruisers, hastily armed cargo haulers, even luxury yachts that had been stripped down and fitted for combat. Vessels of every size swarmed the orbital station, so many that Luna's docks groaned under the weight of numbers. Designed to host 50 ships at most, the station now struggled to coordinate over 300, with more arriving every hour. "This is Commander Sarah Mitchell of the battleship Endeavour," came a crisp voice over comms. "All ship commanders, report to Conference Room Alpha for briefing." The briefing chamber overflowed with humanity's courage. Captains, commanders, and pilots filled the hall, veterans of countless campaigns, merchant crews who had volunteered their ships, asteroid miners who had bolted cannons onto freighters. All had come. At the front stood Admiral Torres. He looked weary but resolute, the weight of the galaxy pressing on his shoulders. Behind him, a massive display showed the red arc of their plotted course across the stars. "Ladies and gentlemen," Torres began, his voice steady, "thank you for coming. What I am about to say may sound impossible, but every word is true." He gestured, and Sarah Chen's recorded message filled the room. The silence that followed was absolute. "We have 15 days to reach the Cathari system," Torres continued. "It will be the longest coordinated fleet movement in human history. Many of your ships were not built for such a journey. Some of you may not make it." A hand rose at the back. "Admiral, with respect, why should we risk everything for a people we've never even met?" Torres had expected the question. He had asked it himself in the sleepless hours since the message arrived. "Because," he said firmly, "this is our chance to prove humanity is more than another violent species clawing for survival. This is our chance to show the galaxy that we stand for something better." He stepped closer, letting his voice rise. The Cathari could have ignored Sarah's distress call. They could have judged it too dangerous. But they didn't. They risked their lives to save a stranger. And now they face extinction with no one else to turn to. If we abandon them, we tell the galaxy that kindness is weakness, that compassion has no value, that bullies rule unchecked. Is that who we want to be? Captain Vasquez stood. "And what of Earth, Admiral? If we fail, our home is defenseless." Torres did not hesitate. "If we fail, Earth is doomed regardless. The hegemony will not stop with the Cathari. They will keep marching until someone resists. Better to fight them now with allies than wait for their shadows to fall over our own skies." One by one, the captains began to rise. Understanding dawned across the room. This was not only about saving the Cathari. It was about humanity itself, about the kind of species they would choose to be. "I'm in," said Captain Marcus Webb of the heavy cruiser Defiance. "My ship and crew are ready." "So are we," said Vasquez firmly. "Count us in too," called a cargo hauler captain, his voice rough but resolute. Soon the entire hall was standing, pledging ships and lives to the cause. Torres felt a surge of fierce pride. When the moment came, humanity had chosen to rise. That very day, the fleet departed. 347 ships, cruisers, freighters, miners, even yachts, surged into the void together, carrying the hopes of two civilizations. The largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, racing into the unknown to defend those they had never met. From the bridge of his flagship, Torres watched Earth recede into darkness, then turned his eyes toward the stars ahead. Somewhere out there, Sarah Chen waited. Somewhere out there, the hegemony advanced. He opened the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Torres. We are now committed. There is no turning back. In 15 days we will either save the Cathari civilization, or we will fall with them. But either way, the galaxy will learn what humanity is made of." The fleet plunged into hyperspace, engines burning at maximum speed. Behind them, Earth held its breath. Ahead, a fragile blue world awaited salvation. Sarah Chen had asked humanity to prove themselves. Now the stars would witness whether her faith was justified. And the galaxy would learn a truth that had defined humans since the dawn of time. They never forgot their debts. They always returned for family. and anyone who saved a human would never stand alone. Deep within the Cathari capital, Sarah Chun stood inside what the people now called their war room. The name felt wrong. These gentle beings had never planned for battle. Once, the crystalline chamber had been a place of exploration charts and scholarly debate. Now it was the center of their desperate attempt at survival. A scout captain entered, his calm voice strained. The hegemony fleet dropped from hyperspace an hour ago. 230 ship. They are advancing toward us, scanning every system. Sarah turned to the display. Cold lines of hostile vessels stretched across the projection. Unlike the Cathari's graceful, living ships, the hegemony's craft were angular and brutal, bristling with weapons. They radiated hunger and domination. The storm had arrived. The hegemony fleet hung in the void like a storm of iron. Jagged hulls and armored prows bristled with weapons, every line of their ships radiating what they truly were, tools of conquest and destruction. How long until they reached the planet? Sarah asked, her eyes locked on the tactical display. 6 hours at their present speed, Elder Thyandra replied gravely. They advance slowly, scanning our defenses. Sarah almost laughed at the word, defenses. The Cathari had none. Their ships were designed for exploration, their cities for peace. They had lived so long without war that they had forgotten how to prepare for one. We need to change that, Sarah said firmly. 6 hours is not much, but it's enough to give them a surprise. For the past week, ever since the hegemony's approach had been confirmed, Sarah had worked tirelessly with the brightest of Cathari minds. It had been like teaching poetry to mathematicians, or mathematics to poet. The Cathari understood energy, matter, living systems, but never how to twist that knowledge into weapons. Sarah had shown them how. Show me what we've prepared. Dr. Ithra touched the control crystal, and a display unfolded in luminous light. We have converted 12 exploration ships into weapons platforms, she said reluctantly. It was difficult. Our people do not like to think of causing harm, even to those who wish us harm. Sarah nodded. She understood. Peace ran so deeply in their nature that even building tools of defense felt like a betrayal. But sometimes good people had to do hard things to protect what mattered. What about orbital stations? Engineer Cole West answered, his voice low but steady. We've fitted them with disruption fields. They cannot stop hegemony vessels, but they may confuse their sensors and targeting. And the ground. Civil Coordinator Merlin spoke. We've hidden our most important research facilities underground. If the cities fall, our knowledge will endure. Perhaps one day, someone will find it and use it for good. Sarah's chest ached. Even facing annihilation, their thoughts reached forward, to others, to the future. They could not imagine survival. But she could. She had to. There's something I haven't told you, she said at last, turning to the circle of leaders whose wide, trusting eyes fixed on her. She felt the weight of their faith. I sent a message to my people 2 weeks ago. I asked them to come. Elder Thyandra blinked slowly. Your people? But they are so far. Even if they wish to help, they cannot arrive in time. Maybe, Sarah admitted. Maybe not. Humans are stubborn. Once we decide, we find a way. And we don't abandon our friends. Velton tilted his head, his dark gaze unwavering. You truly believe they will come? Sarah thought of Admiral Torres, her old commander. She thought of colonies that had crossed impossible distances to rescue stranded crews. She thought of humanity's long history of standing against bullies, even when the odds promised defeat. Yes, she said quietly. I believe they will. But we must survive until they arrive. We must hold out. 3 hours later, the first hegemony warships entered orbit. Sarah stood in the command chamber as the alien fleet spread into position over Cathari skies. Their ships were massive, each dwarfing anything the Cathari had ever built. Incoming transmission, reported Dex Iron, the communications officer. The central display flared alive, revealing the bridge of a hegemony vessel. A reptilian Vortak loomed before them, scales like plated armor, eyes black as void. Behind him moved others, insectoid Skex, mechanical Rhinal, and more Sarah did not recognize. Cathari of this world, the Vortak rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. I am War Captain Grix of the Hegemony Fleet. You possess knowledge that will serve us well. Your biotechnology will belong to us. Elder Thyandra stepped forward, her gentle tone unwavering. War Captain, we greet you in peace. Our knowledge is shared freely. You need not take it by force. Grix laughed, a harsh, cutting sound that made several Cathari flinch. Freely shared? We do not want your charity, plant growers. We want your surrender. Give us your scientists and your technology, and we will permit your people to live, as slaves in our minds. And if we refuse? Elder Thyandra asked, though the question clearly pained her. Then we will take what we want from the ruins of your cities. You have 1 hour. The transmission cut out, leaving silence heavier than stone. We cannot surrender, Dr. Ithra whispered. If they claim our biotechnology, they will enslave countless worlds. The death, the suffering, it would spread like fire. But we cannot fight them, Velton said quietly. Look at their fleet. Look at our ship. We are explorers, not warriors. Sarah stepped forward, into the center of the chamber. Then we don't fight them their way. We fight them smart. For the next hour, she laid out her plan. Desperate, dangerous, the only hope they had. The Cathari listened, astonished, as this lone human sketched out strategies their minds had never considered. You want us to trick them? Engineer Cole asked, his voice uncertain. Humans call it guerrilla warfare, Sarah explained. When you can't win with strength, you win with cunning. You strike where they least expect, and vanish before they can answer. When the hour ended, Elder Thyandra sent her reply to War Captain Grix. Her voice was clear. We choose to remain free. The bombardment began at once. Hegemony fire rained down on the floating cities. Energy beams tore through crystalline towers, cutting them apart like blades through glass. But the cities were empty. The Cathari had already gone underground, their knowledge hidden safe below. Phase 1 is working, Sarah reported, watching the tactical display. They're wasting firepower on empty targets. Our people are safe. But Phase 1 was only the beginning. As the hegemony ships moved lower to intensify the bombardment, Sarah's hidden fleet struck. The converted research vessels, tucked among moons and asteroids, lunged forward. A ship would drop from hiding, unleash its weapons on the engines of a warship, then disappear back into hyperspace before the enemy could respond. Another targeted communication relays, severing links between vessels and plunging them into confusion. On the Hegemony flagship, Grix's roar echoed across channels. Impossible! These are explorers. They do not know how to fight. But under Sarah's guidance, the Cathari were learning. Their ships were fast, nimble, perfectly suited to ambush. Their knowledge of their own system was unmatched, and their gift for coordination, born of centuries of peaceful collaboration, gave them an edge even war could not blunt. The battle for survival had begun. The Cathari's gift for seamless coordination, their strange resonance through radio communications, gave them a kind of unpredictability Sarah still struggled to understand. For 6 days the siege dragged on. The hegemony had come expecting swift conquest. Instead, their overwhelming advantage was chipped away piece by an enemy of shadows and sudden strikes. Their warships prowled with frustration, but still the noose tightened. Sarah knew they could not hold forever. The strain was showing. 3 of their converted vessels had been destroyed, others badly damaged. Worse still, the hegemony had begun adapting to their tactic. Velton entered the command center, his luminous skin dulled with fatigue. Sarah, he said quietly, our attack on the supply convoy failed. They were waiting. We lost the gentle current. All hands. Sarah closed her eyes, grief pressing down on her chest. 15 Cathari, 15 gentle souls who had never wanted to harm anyone, were gone. And they had died because she had asked them to fight. How many ships remain? She asked. 7 that can still fight. The rest are too damaged. 7 against more than 200. Despair clawed at her. They had done everything possible, but it wasn't enough. The hegemony was simply too strong. There's more, Velton said grimly. War Captain Grix has threatened to execute civilian prisoners if we refuse surrender. He has 300 Cathari from the outer settlements. Sarah's blood turned to fire. How long? 1 day. If we do not yield by tomorrow, he will kill 10 every hour. Sarah stood amid the wreckage of what had once been the most beautiful command center in the galaxy. Shattered crystal glittered across the floor. Smoke drifted through holes blasted in the walls. She clutched a portable scanner, her eyes searching the starfield beyond the system's edge. Only darkness. Only silence. Velton's voice broke her thoughts. It is time. In 1 hour, Grix will begin the executions. She looked around the chamber at what remained of the Cathari leadership. Elder Thyandra sat with bowed head, her luminous skin dimmed to gray. Dr. Ithra bent over the wounded, hands glowing softly as she fought to heal the broken. Engineer Cole West labored frantically at a ruined console, patching together failing defenses. They had fought with courage that surprised even Sarah. These beings of peace had become warriors when they had no choice. But 7 battered ships could not hold against 200. Maybe my people couldn't come, Sarah whispered at last. The words felt like betrayal, but the evidence was before her. No ships appeared on her scanner. Maybe the distance was too great. Maybe they couldn't spare the fleet. You did everything you could, Elder Thyandra said, raising her weary eyes. You gave us hope. You taught us to fight. You showed us that goodness exists even in the dark. That knowledge will endure, even if we do not. Sarah wanted to scream. They deserved to live, to continue their journeys among the stars, to share their kindness with other species. Instead, they would die because they had chosen to save one lost human. I should surrender myself, Sarah said suddenly. Tell Grix it was me. I'm the one who taught you resistance. Perhaps he'll accept my life and leave you in peace. No, Velton's voice was steel. We will not trade you for a few hours of slavery. We stand together, or we fall together. Tears blurred Sarah's vision. Even facing annihilation, they thought of protecting others before themselves. The comms console sparked, then steadied. The brutal face of War Captain Grix filled the fractured display. His scaled maw curled in mockery. Well, plant growers, have you decided to be reasonable? I hold 300 of your kind. Their blood will be on your hands if you do not bow. Choose. Elder Thyandra rose slowly, her voice trembling as she prepared to speak the surrender that would doom her people. Sarah shut her eyes, unable to watch good yield to cruelty. Then a cry split the chamber. Contact! Cole West shouted. Multiple contacts on long-range sensors. Ships dropping from hyperspace at system edge. Sarah's eyes flew open. She snatched the scanner and swept it toward the coordinate. At first, only darkness. Then light. Shit. Dozens. Hundreds. More than she had ever seen gathered in one place. Her heart leapt. Human ships, she whispered. Then louder, tears in her eyes. Human ships. It's the Earth fleet. The command center erupted in shouts of disbelief and joy. On the enemy flagship, Grix's bellow rattled through open channels as he demanded answers from his officers. Sarah's hands shook as she activated human frequencies. The most beautiful sound she had ever heard cut through the static. This is Admiral Marcus Torres of the Terran fleet, came the steady voice. We are here for Captain Sarah Chen and the Cathari people. Hostile forces, you have one chance to withdraw peacefully. Sarah grabbed the microphone, her voice breaking. Admiral Torres, this is Sarah Chen. The Cathari are under attack. Over 200 hegemony ships, heavily armed. They've taken prisoners. Copy that, Captain Chen, Torres replied without hesitation. His voice filled the chamber with strength. Message to hegemony forces. You hold what belongs to us. Release the prisoners immediately or face humanity's answer. War Captain Grix's face reappeared on the Cathari screens, his reptilian features twisted with rage and disbelief. What is this? Who are these new ships? This system is under hegemony control. Admiral Torres's voice cut through every channel, steady and unshaken. This system is under the protection of the Terran fleet. You are in violation of interstellar law and of common decency. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Grix's laughter rattled over the comms, though it carried the strain of doubt. Humans? I have never heard of your species. You cannot threaten the hegemony with 200 ships. 200. Torres's tone was almost amused. Who said anything about 200? On the long-range display, hyperspace ripples bloomed like fireflies across the dark. More ships arrived, then more still. 300. 400. 500. Every vessel Earth could spare. Every cargo hauler that had bolted weapons to its frame. Every volunteer ship that had answered the call. Impossible, Grix whispered. No one risks everything for strangers. You're about to learn something about humans, Torres replied, his voice cold and certain. We don't tolerate bullies. And we never abandon our friends. The human fleet surged forward in flawless formation, a storm of steel and light. Sarah's breath caught as she watched Earth's entire strength advance to save a people they had never known. Admiral, she radioed urgently, the hegemony has Cathari prisoners. They're threatening executions. Not on my watch, Torres answered. His voice rang like iron. All ships, Priority 1, secure those transports. Priority 2, disable enemy weapons. Priority 3, send these butchers running home to their mothers. What followed was no battle. It was judgment. The hegemony had come expecting the soft resistance of explorers. Instead, they faced humanity, a species that had honed the art of war for millennia. Human ships struck with ruthless precision. They used the asteroid belt as cover, slipping in and out of shadows, ambushing enemy cruisers with perfect coordination. Every engagement was fast, brutal, decisive. Hegemony ships were overwhelmed before they could even rally. And the humans fought with fury. This wasn't conquest. It wasn't strategy. It was personal. They had traveled across the galaxy to defend strangers, and they fought as though the Cathari were their own kin. Hegemony cruiser dominator to human fleet, a panicked voice crackled. We surrender. We surrender. Surrender accepted, came Captain Vasquez of the Independence. Shut down weapons and prepare to be boarded. And if you've harmed a single prisoner, her voice hardened, you will answer for it. One by one, hegemony ships broke. Some fled. Others surrendered. Those that stood their ground were annihilated. Humanity had brought everything, warships, fighters, even armed freighters, and they fought not as invaders but as defenders with a righteous cause. Grix's flagship tried to run, but 3 human cruisers cut across its path, hemming him in. His furious voice bellowed across open frequencies. This cannot be. No species risks their entire fleet for aliens they do not know. Admiral Torres's reply was calm, implacable. You saved one of ours. That makes you family. And humans always come back for family. 6 hours later, it was over. The hegemony fleet was shattered, their prisoners freed, every Cathari alive and safe. Decades of terror collapsed in the face of humanity's refusal to let evil win. Sarah stood on the observation deck of Torres's flagship, gazing down at the Cathari world. The floating cities rose again from their hiding places, crystal spires gleaming under the light of 3 moons. Human and Cathari ships worked side by side, rebuilding, healing. I can't believe you came, Sarah said softly, turning to Torres. The whole fleet. Everything Earth had. Torres smiled faintly. Did you really think we wouldn't? You sent word about a people who saved one human life simply because it was right. What did you expect us to do? Send a thank you note. But the risk, Sarah whispered. If you had lost, Earth would have been defenseless. If we had stayed home, Torres replied, we would have lost something far greater than ships. We would have lost our souls. Below them, human engineers worked with Cathari scientists, blending technology and ideas. The biotechnology the hegemony had sought to steal was now freely shared, while human defenses spread around Cathari worlds to guard against future threats. What happens now? Sarah asked. Now, Torres said firmly, we make sure this never happens again. The Cathari are under Terran protection. Any who threaten them will answer to us, and we'll find others like them. Other peaceful civilizations who need help. The age of bullies ends here. Velton approached, his movements awkward in the human ship's gravity. Captain Chen. Admiral Torres. The Council of Minds wishes to thank you. Yet we still do not understand. Why did your people risk so much for strangers? Sarah exchanged a glance with Torres. How could they explain humanity to those who had never known cruelty? At last she spoke. Because when you saved me, you reminded us of what we want to be. You proved kindness still exists in the universe, and we couldn't let that light be extinguished. She turned back to the window, watching as humans and Cathari rebuilt a future together. For the first time since the siege began, Sarah felt hope burn bright. And so the galaxy had learned a truth that day. Humanity was not just another warrior race. They were the ones who remembered debts, who returned for family, who stood against bullies, even when the fight was not their own. The war for the Cathari was over. But for humanity, the story was just beginning. Narrator's closing message. If you've traveled this far into the stars with us, thank you. Stories like this remind us not only of what humanity can be in fiction, but what we strive for in truth: loyalty, courage, and kindness. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to subscribe for more tales of science fiction and wonder. Like, share, and comment to tell us what you thought of this story, and what kind of sci-fi worlds you'd like to see explored next. The universe is vast. The stories are endless. And the adventure is just beginning.